We have some more updates on the passenger situation, and it's probably darker than you think. On Wednesday, news broke out that Ruby Franke of 8 Passengers, a YouTube family vlog channel, and her business partner Jody Hildebrandt were arrested for 2 accounts of aggravated child abuse. News articles came out reporting that one of Ruby Franke's children, who is 12 years old, was found duct-taped, emaciated, and malnourished, escaping his home and asking for help from a neighbor. Since the news broke out, there's been rumors going on where people think Kevin Franke, the husband of Ruby Franke, also got arrested, but this hasn't been confirmed just yet. Police reports are currently only showing that Ruby and her business partner Jody were the ones arrested. Alongside, Ruby's sisters also came out on social media confirming that it was only Ruby and Jody who were arrested. People have been wondering where Kevin, the father of 8 Passengers, was throughout all of this. If he was looking out for his kids at all, or if he was even aware of the environment that his children were in at the time. Even though Ruby and Kevin were separated at the time, though some people think they got a divorce since then, they still believe Kevin had to have been aware at some point in time of what Ruby and Jody were doing to his children. Prior to their arrest, Ruby and Jody both shared a YouTube channel called Connections. A lot of people thought this channel was a cult given the way they were speaking about parenting and the evil parenting styles that they were preaching on this channel. I'm sure by now you've all seen a number of clips of what these two were talking about and encouraging for other parents to do to their children and how to act with them and how poorly they were talking about children. Surprisingly, one of the daughters of Ruby, Sherry Franke, came forward on social media just yesterday, and this is what she had to say about the Connections group. She said, "Connections and Moms of Truth," which was their little slogan, needs to go. Please report their Instagram accounts and encourage everybody to unfollow them. They do not deserve such a large audience. As far as Kevin Franke, the father of the 8 Passengers children, goes, there's some people that think he was complicit in all of this. Kevin was a part of the Connections group at one point in time, as he was featured in a few episodes, so not a lot of people think he's this nice guy after all. Throughout the longevity of the 8 Passengers vlog channel, Kevin was also seen being in a lot of business meetings, and a lot of people think he was an absent father according to what they've seen in the vlogs for the most part. Kevin did come forward on social media around last year when the channel completely stopped posting and around the time he split with Ruby. He talked about cutting off from the whole vlog channel as well as his family.
For anybody who's familiar with the experience that my family has gone through and the choices that we've made and the sacrifices we've made in the last 2 years, you would know that I mean what I say. We've walked away from a lot. But I feel like we've walked away from a lot to gain something more valuable.
And a lot of people under the comments of this TikTok were blaming both Jody and Ruby, given the sinister things that they were preaching about family values and how to raise children, which was super corrupt to the eyes of many. Not only in Ruby's vlog channels about how she was treating her children, but also in these connection clips as well. It just got so progressively worse, the way they were talking about parenting as well as children. People were saying things like, "I blame Jody. She's been manipulating them for the worst." I feel like it's mostly Jody who's tearing apart their family and gaslighting them at this point. Both Ruby and Kevin have been called out for years for exploiting their children on social media and taking advantage of them as well. There definitely hasn't been a blind eye to that, and people have made it clear to them all over social media, and they definitely knew what they were doing. Apparently, Kevin and Ruby were trying to silence people years ago when they were trying to shed light on their tactics. This content creator, Kendall, who is actually in the family vlogging niche, tried to speak out about 8 Passengers and their abusive behavior years ago and said that she got a cease and desist from them.
Ruby and her husband sent me a cease and desist. Their lawyer sent me a cease and desist. If you don't know what that means, it's basically a scare tactic to tell you to shut up. A couple years ago, I was going to speak about 8 Passengers because for years I've been saying that they are abusive. Like, it was so obvious to me. And I'm going to tell you my suspicions as to why it took years to come out. But I had talked about the Frankes on Instagram, okay? They got wind of it, and I was also going to address it in a YouTube video because I was just done. As being in the family vlogging space and then seeing what was taking place on YouTube and being allowed to post on YouTube and YouTube doing absolutely nothing about it for years infuriated me. So I was going to talk about it. I was going to talk about it on YouTube. I was going to talk about, you know, their horrible abusive parenting and how YouTube is just allowing it. I had first talked about it on Instagram. Well, I got a letter from their attorney telling me to shut my mouth. Now, I contemplated, because usually they don't, those kinds of cease and desist, like, things don't really mean anything, but I was kind of scared. We even went to our YouTube manager to talk to him about it, because I really wanted to address this with YouTube. That was like 2 years ago. I had to shut my mouth about it, but I was going to be probably one of the only family vloggers with a big platform to like really speak about it, and I wanted to use my platform to speak about it, but I decided not to because of the cease and desist and getting lawyers and all of that.
Since news came out about Ruby getting arrested, people have been wondering what Kevin has to say about all of this, and he actually hired up an attorney fast. According to Page 6, his attorney spoke for him and said, Kevin's urgent focus is simply to keep his children together under his fatherly care. But there's still people who think Kevin is complicit in some way in the mistreatment of their children, and there's just some people who don't trust either of these two parents to be in charge of these poor children who've already been through a lot with these two. Something else about this whole passenger situation following the arrest of both Ruby and Jody and the poor environment of the children that were reported to be in the home of Jody is the response of Ruby's sisters to this situation. Ruby's sisters all made a shared Instagram statement talking about the arrest of Ruby and how they felt about it. They pretty much said that they were happy that she was finally arrested and that it needed to happen for the sake of the children. But people are finding it sketchy that they waited 3 years to speak out about this. Even though they said that they knew behind the scenes and that they were trying to take action to take care of the kids, people are just like, clearly you guys didn't do anything of importance or seek professional help for the sake of the children, since it got to the point of Ruby's 12-year-old child having to be duct taped, malnourished, and emaciated, having to escape his home and ask a neighbor for help. So people are also finding the role of not only Kevin, but also Ruby's sisters to be slightly off. The whole thing just seems so dark, and honestly, I just hope that the kids are okay, as they've been going through a lot for years. These kids are super young. They don't deserve to go through any of this, and parents and adults all need to be held accountable. I definitely want to know what you guys think in the comments down below about this situation. I love you guys so much, and as always, I'll see y'all in the next video.